shit. I don't know shit.
Call it.
All right. I would say let's get the party started. I know that some people are still grabbing coffee, but I think we can kick this off. So this is probably the least serious of all the panels. It's obviously about comedy, so we better keep it lighthearted. I'd like to welcome our fantastic panelists here. And just as a small apology, Debbie, who's the showrunner of Lopez versus Lopez, she was unable to attend today. She's going to be here next year. So we'll have a catch-up for those that were specifically looking to hear from her. But we'll have a really great time here. We'll have fun. There's going to be Q&A at the end. So keep it easy and simple. It's going to be funny at the end of the day. So I'll maybe introduce or let them introduce themselves. So Coley, can you say something a little bit about yourself?
I am Coley. I am an extremely serious person and probably the least distinguished panelist.
Since there's only two of us, it's not hard. You know? My name is Rebecca Branford. I'm a showrunner in non-fiction television and also a writer in scripted as well, and I dabble as being an author as well.
And I represent the punk rock element of this. So we talk a lot about the social behavior side, the philanthropy side, the social impact entertainment side. You can do that both within and outside of the industry. And so I represent the punk rock version. And so my first two projects, which you're going to get a snippet of, are two tools you can use in doing social impact yourself. And so, look, you got no money, you're not in the industry, you don't know anybody, you want to make something dope. Here's two tricks you can do. One is punk rock, okay? Just do something crazy, film it, have an intention for it, and boom, you got a spectacle, okay? So what you're gonna see is my first 1 hour stand-up special is actually a lay-down special because I did it in partnership with UCLA while I got a procedure awake.
Don't give it away. Let the people see it.
I like that.
Yeah, we'll keep the mystery alive. So you'll notice that these are two totally different approaches to comedy, and you'll basically let the work speak for itself. So this here is Coley's a compilation.
This is the most definitive way out of all forms of birth control to stop the pregnancy. It just so happens it's in the guy's responsibility and not on the female side. Here goes the snip.
That's right, I'm getting a vasectomy for women's rights. The time when Roe v. Wade is overturned, they're passing archaic laws around the country. It's time for us dudes to take the knock. You know, put our balls where our mouth is. Welcome to the future. They're all mad at each other. They're fighting. The world seems like it's falling apart. I don't think they got the message. You guys did right what I said, right? Yeah, I mean, this is tough things, but life goes on. And everybody's pretty distraught from the pandemics, forest fires, riots, the violence. We should unify instead of dividing. It's certainly a stuck lady, right?
There's a lot of reasons people do things. But at some point in time, you figure out that sometimes, or most of the time, you should just do things for love. It's supposed to be so simple.
All right, Coley, do you want to give a little extra context? Because now we know that this was truly a vasectomy.
Yeah, Reggie got one. And it's awesome. But we'll talk about that more in the question and answer you ask. And then I want to give the second tool you can use, which is what we did in Jeebus, is we formed a community-owned co-op. So every cast and crew member co-owns that movie. So I wrote, directed, played 5 roles, financed, it cost about $400,000, did the soundtrack, and I kept 51%, I gave 49% away to everybody else.
Nice.
So hair and makeup co-owns it, producers co-own it, assistants, extras, the local diner that gave us breakfast, Anybody who helped in any sort of way got an incremental royalty based on their energy contribution, not their role. So like an editor to me is like the superstar, so that, more so than even myself as a director, they do a lot of labor, so I gave them a larger percent for that component. So you can do this with your friends, and you go, okay, you're funny, you can write, you're a producer, let's split the pie and go make it. You just need the hard ones. So those are 2 tools you can use in punk rock social impact entertainment.
I think this is going to become a term, this punk rock social impact entertainment. All right, so we'll go over to Rebecca's work, so you can kind of see a very different approach to comedy. These are 2 of the projects. Do you want to quickly talk about them, Rebecca, and then we'll show a trailer?
Sure. So I'm the showrunner on a show called Kevin Hart's Muscle Car Crew. We just finished our 2nd season. I don't know if I'm showing up there. Who, obviously we all know who Kevin Hart is, biggest comic in the world, and his 5 best friends all got into classic cars and realized immediately they knew nothing about cars, but they had a passion for the world. And then looked around and said, wow, this world doesn't reflect us, let's create our own car club where everyone's involved. And obviously with a Kevin Hart, you have a lot of comedy, and his 5 best friends are just as funny as he is. So it was a interesting challenge to not only give meaningful content, but also capture all the fun and the antics of their true friendships, which are really beautiful friendship circles to capture this show. And my other great project of the past year was the Kings of Barbecue. Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson are best friends. They decided to go into business to start a barbecue brand, to take back the grill, as we have all jokingly decided. And so the concept of that show was, what would it be like to be at the beginning of a $1 billion brand? Now, they are not a $1 billion brand yet, but that was the dream. Yeah, they will be. So that is the dream. So we had a great time. They've never done anything together. Cedric had never done a reality TV show. And so there were a lot of interesting challenges of mining that incredible improv energy they both have with each other, but also hiding all of the broccoli within the project, traveling the country, really getting back to the roots of where barbecue came, being respectful to the African American history of it. And it was just a really interesting and exciting project to execute on. So.
And a neat tie-in synchronicity here is I got my start, I'm from Philly, I got my start at the same comedy club that Kevin Hart did. And it's called the Laugh House, and it was known as an urban club. And similar to Jim Carrey with the Wayans brothers, all the Brooklyn hipsters never got me or gave me a shot on stage, and the West Philly guys did. And so when people talk about DEI, it can go both ways.
DEI Philly. All right, here is Kevin Hart's Muscle Car Crew. Quick trailer.
What's going on? This is Kevin Hart, being my Muscle Car Crew. We're going to clean out 69 Camaro. So buckle up. Shut your mouth.
Going on like inspiration. We gotta go experience different cultures, look at different car clubs.
Man.
We gotta get outside of LA.
What are you doing with that umbrella? I can't get to the tail right now.
Why do you keep making the sound?
Use your leg. That's what I'm using. All right, you guys gotta get out.
Nah, I get out with him.
We got each other to lean on.
This is like being more friends.
Did you think you would learn about cars at this conference? Well, now you
He's nuclear charismatic.
Okay, so I'd love to actually talk about this, the work that you guys do, because comedy is not just funny. Comedy is a lot of work, and it's hard to pull it off. So why? Why these shows? Why comedy? How does this kind of tie in with your personal mission, your purpose in life? What do you look for as a person, as a creator, as an artist, and then why these shows?
Well, for me, I really need to have something to dig into for the content. There's a lot of nonfiction, there's a lot of reality. Not, I think people tend to gather us all into one bucket, but it actually is very nuanced. There's a lot of different types of shows. There's the Kardashian type of shows, docu-follows, all these different things. And so for me, is there something meaningful that we can do in the comedy? Comedy is tricky. I don't think people unless you try to execute on comedy, you don't know how hard it is to do it well. You can do it, but to do it well and to do it in a certain tone. So there's there's a lot that goes into it. So for Kevin's show, what I actually was attracted to was the friendships. They're very respectful of one another. It was great modeling towards how they all treat each other as people. And I've done so much car work that I didn't need to do that show. But the other pieces of it, of just opening it up to a different group of people, a different population that doesn't get to experience this space, was interesting to me. And Cedric and Anthony, their energy, their goals to really create an authentic brand was also really interesting to me. And our first meeting was so funny that there was no saying no, you know what I mean? So.
My why, my mom said since I was 5, the word I used most often was mission. Like, Mom, mission, I gotta do the mission. She's like, you know, Mom, I got a mission, I gotta do the mission, Mom. She's like, you don't have enough experience yet. I'm like, you know. And it started with clementines at teachers, you know? And I think as I got older, I just figured out better targets that were more deserving of the clementines, is kind of the short form. And then my biggest things that drive me now are income inequality, climate change, and healing political toxicity, because I think we got the smarts, we got the resources, we got the ability to fix all these things. We don't have the cultural and political will, so we have kind of a spiritual degradation. So I do what I call enlightenment, which is trademarked, and it's enlightening entertainment. And I call, our company's called Rebel Media, and we're revolutionaries, but we're positive we're positive revolutionaries. We celebrate revolution, because if it's fun, everybody will join. But, you know, let's throw love and jokes instead of Molotovs. That's kind of what they, and then over my life, it just got deeper and deeper and deeper, and I'm so far in now, I can't go back. And how that went, should I tell about that? So I got to Georgetown, you know, political school, was a weed dealer there, and graduated in 3 years. They're like, oh, it's impressive. I was like, no, it's necessary. And then I worked on Wall Street 1 year as a media investment banker for Credit Suisse, just because they had this film finance department to learn how to structure all this stuff. And then within 5 minutes of getting my bonus, I quit. And I said, yeah, no, I'm going to go be a comedian and stuff. And they thought that was wild. And you know, one thing led to another, laugh house, blah, blah, blah. And then along the way, I had these really epic hero's journey struggles. I fell 12 feet on my head in a shampoo commercial, which fits like a glove, and it took me 1.5 years to learn how to walk and talk again. And then when COVID hit, I almost died from, I call it OG COVID. That first one was a lot worse than the rest. And it caused brain encephalitis, and it swelled my spinal cord so much, and it replaced 2 discs in my neck. And so I went from being a meditator to a prayer, maybe out of necessity. And so in that moment, like a Philadelphian, I was kind of negotiating with God, and I said, you know, I've had enough life for myself, you could take me now, that's fine, but I got more potential. If you can let me live, I'll give the rest to you. And then I got this silly Jiva script, and I moved to Gulfport, Florida, hippie heaven, and then that's the first thing that got enough traction to bring me to LA after doing this for 15 years in Philly. So God works in weird ways. Sometimes all the things you think are going to make you successful aren't, and sometimes there's curveballs is God's jujitsu to just nudge you where you're supposed to go.
Rebecca, do you have a jiu-jitsu story about a curveball in your life that drove you closer to impact or closer to comedy?
I don't know if it's closer to comedy, but I kind of understood our medium really early on when, long ago I was in Boston, we did a tribute video for the oldest ironworkers union. And so they had to come in and approve it. So Ed Pliny from Boston came in, and he was a giant of a man with like mitts like, you know, baseball mitts. He sat down to watch this video, and we watched it. It's 10, 12, 15 minutes go by, he doesn't say a word, it ends, and then he bursts into tears. And his head's on the thing, and he's pounding the table, and we're like, oh my God, we are in trouble, what happened? And his friend that was with him, he's like, no, you just showed him his whole life. You just showed him his grandparents, his grandfather, his uncle, his brothers, everybody who's been in his life. You've just shown him his world in a way that he has never stopped to consider. And I was like, well, we can make grown men cry with this format. So from there, I felt like if you can find that personal connection, that meaning for your audience, you gotta know who your audience is so that you can speak to them properly. But it was just a really nice lesson for me early on to say, oh, we really can make people consider, think differently about themselves. He also, we went on to go show it to the other, 200 people in that room. They all had the same reaction. So it's just a really fascinating real world medium, not, a narrative in that sense.
That was the Iron Workers?
Yeah, the Iron Workers.
Because my right-hand man in Philly, his dad became the head of Teamsters, and he went, Philadelphia Teamsters, which you can guess. And
Pretty rough.
And he went from being just a regular truck driver, Mr. Dooch, like my buddy's dad and my best friend's dad, or my dad's dad, best friend, to being this guy, and all of a sudden he's meeting Obama, and he's meeting and one through line through this is, when you talk about income inequality, classism, the hood, whatever, comedy is the only medium where with no money you can make a hit. It's like completely earned, right? So, sci-fi, you need a ton of fucking money. Big celebrities are normally needed to sell a project. Horror, you're selling depravity. Okay, sorry, it's the one thing I judge. I'm a prude on that. I'm just like, why is everything gotta be fucking dark? It's like, you see, it's a teddy bear, but it stabs. It's like, what the? It's like Smile 2, it's the last thing you'll see. It's like, can anything not be dark? Like, can a smile just not be dark? But in comedy, you can do that. You take a Clementine, throw it, do it good enough, and you got a hit. Napoleon Dynamite, $100 million. So it's one of those hacks where you can really affect income inequality just by a couple people coming together and bootstrapping.
We're in politically divisive times, to maybe say the least, and comedy has been sort of maybe even like shrunk down. Like, is this still funny? No, you can't say this. No, you can't say that. But this also comes with a lot of responsibility, right? Because punch down jokes, there's all these different layers to why making jokes from the 1980s doesn't work anymore in 2020, and people need to find it funny, nor will it sort of like help someone's career. But how do you walk that tightrope walk between what is funny and edgy, or what is just too out there, and how do you navigate that?
I feel pretty strong on this one. So I actually have the opposite view of the narrative you usually hear on this. You can't do comedy anymore. Shut up. If people were upset at you, the joke wasn't funny enough. Okay, comedy is brutal. It's brutal. If it's funny and you get away with it, it was a good joke. If you don't get away with it, it was a bad joke. And don't blame them for getting upset about it, right? And half the country thinks it's funny to be mean, and the other half is like too sensitive. I think that's just a binary choice. For me, what makes a joke okay politically is the intention. If the intention is to heal, cool. If the intention is to inflame, bad. That's a pretty simple one. Comedy at its best is a translator between the Buddha and the layman, right? The Buddha says everything perfect. He's not that funny, okay? And the Philadelphia guy's really funny, but he's not even close to perfect, right? So the Buddha and the Philly guy gotta make a cheesesteak with some broccoli in it, as you say. And that's how we can sneak the social impact in. So, if it's all broccoli, not too many people are gonna eat it. So you gotta be, and you can't see the information space to the people willing to be mean, right? So if we just try to police that, there's going to be a brutality cascade where whoever's most willing to be brutal will get the airtime, and we've seen, the dark wins sometimes in short term, but the light wins in the long run. So just like in baseball, if you're both practicing 12 hours a day and one guy's doing steroids, you either all got to do steroids or you got to stop the guy doing steroids, right? So if people are doing the dark arts and they're lying and manipulating and disinformation and gaslighting and all these tricks, well, we got to start saying fuck. You get what I'm saying? So you gotta come with the heart, come with the soul, but don't be scared, don't back away, because if the president can be this offensive, there's no such thing as offensive.
Resetting what's normal. Rebecca, maybe a different take?
Yeah, I have a different take. You're Mr. Avant-Garde, get out there. I have a network to answer to. I have stars who have big stakeholders. I can't blow up their careers by doing something, outrageous. So, for us, first of all, it's the tone. I don't make mean things. I just don't, it's not my DNA. I don't want to make that kind of thing. But I do think you can set a tone, you can decide how far you want to go with your setups, your really for us, it's who are you putting in the room together, how are you going to execute the scene together, what are you trying to get out of it, and where can you mine for those pieces of gold. And I've done a lot of shows with regular people where you are putting them in situational comedy type situations and having some fun with them, but never exploiting, never making them feel foolish. It's I feel like it's our responsibility to also model, you know, if we're family entertainment, we should be modeling those kind of morals and just, you can have a good, clean, fun time and you can laugh a lot, but you don't have to make me. So in that, I think we both agree. We don't, the cruelty is...
You just gotta know what you are. You know,
Yeah.
One thing I do is physical comedy. So that's my purest stuff. I have this one bit called City Baby, and I put on a diaper and I run through cities like a baby. I don't say anything. It's not mean at all. It's like, and that's my favorite thing to do, honestly. Maybe I'll show you all those little tricks. But it looks like a baby. The physicality of a baby. Like Kevin Hart's a great example. Like I obviously studied when he's a hero of mine. And it's like, he doesn't ever do straight on conflict. He's professional, and that's why he's immobile, because he avoids the head-on conflict. I just choose to be different. It's not like one's better than the other. I just like throwing clementines. Like, it's funny as shit to me. And one example, just not me, is how I made Jeebus, right? So I had name a race, religion, creed. We had it in the movie, right? The local homeless guy played one of the three wise men. We had 20 special ed. We had Native American. I mean, you name it, we had it. And a good example of other people. Awesome. You didn't say salamander, dude.
Salamander.
The code would have said. And you know, what I did was I told everybody, what do you care most about?
What's going on? This is Kevin Hart, babe. I must come through.
That was obviously a bit.
You know, I said, what do you care most about? What is something you want to say to the world and that you're normally scared to say in any of your other content? Can you please bless my project by saying it? And so a good example is, you know, me and the Native American girl came up with this bit, and she's the disciple and I'm Jeebus. And she goes, Jeebus, they're not listening to truth, and they're not listening to math or science, and maybe Jeebus will listen to love, and they'll listen to you. And it's the only time I break fourth wall in the movie, and I go, I always knew Earth was going to need a savior, and I always knew it was going to be a white dude. And I just left it right there. And she goes, I didn't think it could get worse than colonialism. I was like, we kind of sucked that. You know, so you know, it's not just me being it. I want, whatever someone's going to say, I want them to say it. So I guess we're going to do question and answers in a second, because Will wanted me to shout somebody out too.
We're actually going a little bit over the originally scheduled time, so we'll end this around like 11:40. So we'll have a little bit of extra time just because we ran a little bit late. I also want to talk a little bit about the thoughts behind comedy, right? Because you can hear something funny and you'll laugh and you'll know it's funny. It's very easy on the audience side to just know if something is funny. But when you're creating something, it's a whole different story. There's a lot of things that you can write down and you think is funny, and then you test it out, say in stand-up, or you test it out in the movie, it doesn't work, or you test it out in editing. So what helps you guys understand that what is something that is funny, and how can you maybe pass something on to the people in the room that are interested in doing comedy and are like, I've tried the whole like impact stuff, but then it's not funny, or it's like too funny, but then it's kind of not impactful enough because it might be a little crass. How do you think about what is something that is funny and how do you make it funny? And by the way, there's a slide up that Coley sort of, I would say this probably encompasses your theory of this question.
Why is that funny? I don't know. You know, it's like, it's there's no rules to it. It's just, if it hits, it hits. If I already ever give any trick to it, is to not care whether it's funny. I mean, I bomb all the time at Bath House. I would dance in the beginning. I would come out to Rich Homie Kwan, and I would dance.
and everybody would go nuts, and then I would go into this social impact stuff and lose everybody. And then I would usually finish until this OG comic told me, he's like, yo, dude, I dance at the end too. So you want to make people laugh. You don't want to, but you sneak the broccoli in, and on the social impact thing and blending it. In the 60s, the musicians were the truth to power, and now they're the Pepsi deals and sex and shit, materialism. The comics can be the ones who do it, and I just don't know why people shy away from the material, because that's the biggest game in town. I actually think, everyone thinks I'm the avant-garde guy. Now, I got a couple things that I can't announce yet, that Jeebus is going to be a smash next year, like a smash. I mean, think about it. They only make Marvel movies, right? Superheroes? Well, who's more famous than Wolverine? Jeebus, right? Jeebus. He's the most famous IP ever, and he didn't have an estate, so it was pretty easy to clear, So it's kind of a hack, right? So, if there's one thing Trump did good, it's that politics is pop culture. Everyone's talking about it. That's it. That's about it for me. But so I think we got to get into the mud and sling, and you figure it out. I mean, you test things, you work them. I mean, over time you start to see it. For me, it's really just how you say it, how you look when you say it, the physical elements, the guttural elements, the fearlessness. It's like you can't really give like a content trick because everybody has a different thing they want to talk about.
Rebecca, any content tricks on the unscripted side?
Yeah, I would say we think deeply about where we put our characters and what our settings are, and where can we mine that dysfunction, because that's comedy in the nonfiction.
Well, yeah, life's fun.
And, sorry, but just for clarification, you mean like the situational component of it?
Yeah, exactly. Like putting, son and aunt at the biggest barbecue competition in the world, and yet they have never even tested their sauces, or like what's going to happen, and how are they going to react to it, or just even the conceit of our show with Kevin Hart. They all bought classic cars, and then they were like, we don't know anything about cars, so now we got to go learn. I think you do have to know your world that you're putting them in very deeply before they're going to be able to react in a way so that you can also kind of guide it. You don't want to put them out and send them out to sea and hope that something comes back. That's a really dangerous way to make television. It's a way to waste a lot of time. But you do, when we were doing the barbecue show, we do it once. We do the scene once to get through it. We do a second round, and I would say this is true with Kevin and his crew too. We do it a second time because now they were like, oh, wait a minute, I just thought of something I wanted to say, it's funny. Or we'd start pitching them things from the side. By the time we got to the third take, then everybody's rolling around laughing. And they're trying to outdo each other because, of course, this is what they do. They're comedians, and the friends as well. So, but it's always based in the situation that our characters have found themselves in. And that is our job, to put them in effective places so that we can mine it for the best. And also, tell a story. You were talking about what's funny, what's not funny. If we're rolling around dying laughing at these edits, even at the rough cut stage, I know we're onto something. I feel like over the years I've gotten a good sense of like what's too far, what isn't far enough. Even just in, as we were talking about, the editors are gold. A pause of a stare. Just somebody suddenly picking up their phone in the middle of something, and being nervous and like, I'm on the phone. Like what do you have as your raw material as well? You shouldn't be afraid of using, because sometimes that's our most fun. Or if we've gotten stuck with a lot of real people who aren't terrific talent, how can we play with them a little bit, be respectful, but have a little fun with them as well?
That's a huge point too. Editing is so huge because as a comedian, in the raw filming, you want to go 20% over the line. If I'm not going 20% over the line, I'm not doing my job. If I'm trying to be respectful while we're shooting, I'm bad at this, right? So 20% we cut, I should never say. I'm not saying it's always just say fuck. I mean, I say terrible things sometimes. Usually when I get tired or I'm hungry by accident. I know I squeeze the orange far enough, and then when I say something really offensive, my boys go, all right, we're done, and then you cut it, you don't put it in, so it's okay to make mistakes, but own them and don't just say, so that's a part, and also life, like you said, life and dysfunction. manure into crops. I mean, half the shit I kid around is stuff that, like the Greek comedy and joy and tragedy masks, the stuff in your own life that can be messed up can also turn into stuff that's really funny and it heals.
Well, to your point, like maybe that's the place to end. Just because you roll on it doesn't mean you have to use it. And that is, that's how you respect your talent, you respect your show, and you'll get the notes anyway from the networks and stuff. But
I do NDAs, and I'm a Philadelphian, so I honor my word, and I tell everybody, like, I'll show you your performance, and you tell me if you want me to cut it. I literally give every performer the edit right, because then they'll say crazy shit because they feel safe. They're not going to get canceled because I slipped something in, and most of the time they're cool with the thing we end up putting in. So like, I really think that's super important. Like, you don't want to do any getcha stuff. Like, too many people in this society crab and weasel off each other, shooting at each other, trying to make it come up. That to me is also not funny. That's all dirty. It's like, get it from your own source.
I think this point what you also talked about, right? That say Kevin knows that once this goes into the edit, he's got some level of control. So he knows that if he went too far, Rebecca's not going to run him over.
I get fired. That's what I
And
Well,
you think you'll work with me. You don't have to do what.
any star like that, they've spent their life building their career, and they know exactly who they are. You are not going to tell anybody who's made it to that level who they are, and you can suggest things, and you can play, you can workshop them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, my experience has been, you've got to meet them where they are, and make them confident and comfortable so they can do their best work, because that's why they are who they are anyway. Versus trying to turn them into something else, it's never going to work. When you're creating a show from out of regular people, which I've done as well, then you have to kind of study, well, what are their characteristics? What's kind of popping for us? What can we enhance in the edit or take them to a place that they maybe haven't even thought about themselves? But that takes a lot of work. Real people and these celebs that show up and can nail it on the first take are two very different experiences, and you have to be ready to go there. So.
Can I do a quick shout out for Will before question and answer? Is that what?
Yeah, I was going to go to Q&A, yeah.
Okay. Just one quick shout out. Is Katie Borum here? No, she's not. Okay, he just wanted me to shout out Katie Borum at American University. They have a program there called Comedy and Media Impact, Social Impact. I might have that wrong, but it's cmsimpact.org, and they're literally building a division at American University to study what we're talking about right now, which I think is incredible. And I went to Georgetown. American is poor man's Georgetown, but that's still pretty rich. I would highly recommend going to that work, and also yesandlaughterlab.com. I mean, I was looking at the sites this morning since Will Nix, also Will from Philly, which is awesome, told me to look, and it's super impressive. And she has a book called The Revolution is Hilarious, which is like basically what my life runs off.
Thank you. Yeah, and Katie Borum's work is really important. There's a number of people that are studying this stuff. She's probably the leading scientist in the US on this intersection of comedy, impact, and the actual science behind what is funny and why is it funny. Okay, we'll open it up to the audience. Feel free to shout out the questions. You can also raise your hand and we'll pick you. Either or is fine. If you want to tell a joke, that is also welcome. But yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Hi, I have a question for you. You had mentioned, I am not going to tell a joke because my role in life is to be the straight man.
Very important. Very important.
You did mention earlier talking about misinformation and disinformation and how comedy can be used to combat that. And since that is part of my origin story of how I ended up in this room, I'm curious if you could expand on that a little bit more. How can you use comedy to combat these things?
Making a cheesesteak. So the gaslighting in this country is like meta. Like they'll gaslight to the hypocrisy of the gaslight to the hypocrisy to the hypocrisy of the gaslighting of the hypocrisy to the point where you don't know what's up, right? So if you go in with academic language. We need to save we've got to save democracy and authoritarianism. Half of the people in America are like, I don't know what that means, really. And it sounds so like abstract. But if you can boil it down to a cheesesteak, A plus B equals C, right? So like, let's take, there's a scene in Jeebus where he's in the back, and there's a character who's based on the devil and, I don't say the name, I try not to say the name, Machiavelli. We'll call it Machiavelli, right? And he goes, he uses the straw man, he points to this, he says the thing that, he accuses you of the thing that you're doing, that he's doing, and I basically gave his like 7 tricks in 30 seconds. And if you can identify the trick, maybe even in a meme, or you just like break it down to like, this is how they do this, that's how I would approach it. I think you gotta make it simple enough for people to understand. And then the other thing is, in Philadelphia, where the real patriotism started, right? It's where the country was born. Philadelphians are known for being kind of dumb, but also like very righteous, right? And they got this like sense of righteousness. If you can make the dark shit not cool, you don't want to go where they go because you want to go high. But because of the brutality cascade, I like a quick, don't be a weasel, dude. You're being a weasel. And when you say it like that, you're like, that guy's a weasel. And so if we can be funnier than them, I think we end up winning that.
One little addition, by the way, the use of satire, great mis and disinformation tool, great example, the movie Idiocracy, right? It's satire about something that we're like, oh, you kind of start thinking about things. Okay,
Yeah.
Next question, yes.
You just mentioned Idiocracy. So Mike Judge is one of my favorite creators, producers. In our current era of increased consolidation between massive corporate forces, how do you think we can contend with that, trying to write real, incisive comic stuff? Like Mike Judge famously got kind of blacklisted for a little while after making Idiocracy, pissing off the corporate sponsors.
Maybe Rebecca, since you have a lot of experience with the big corporates that
Yeah,
love television.
I mean, if you were just at the keynote, I was so happy to hear David Lindy say YouTube, because it's the conversation we're hearing over and over and over again, and I would have never thought that a year ago, 2 years ago. But now I feel like that is a place to grow your audience. They're going to find you if they like your voice, if they like your tone. You're not dealing with a network situation where every network has a personality, every network will only take it so far, or take it too far, whatever their personality is. It's so much to get something on the air in that regard, and I'm sure it's different even for him these days. So I really think that TikToks, the YouTubes, there is such an opportunity now to make your voice heard in that regard.
And show up with the product. Don't do a pitch. They'll just steal it. They'll be like, wait, we could just make it in-house and own the IP, right? So just show up with the product. Don't pitch the script. Don't pitch the concept. Make the movie, however the fuck you gotta do it, and then show up with that, and then you got a chance. And then the marketing, like she said, it's so frustrating for me, but yeah, you show up at the top of the castle and they go, what's your TikTok moments?
What's your TikTok?
What's your TikTok
But,
moments?
well,
It's like you don't even do your 7-8.
are you saying do your finished product, like be ready to sell your product?
Yeah,
You
I'm
know?
gone. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I'm
that.
gone.
So then you can just license it to them, and then that's basically like owning a house, right? So I sold the 3 houses I owned to make Jeebus, right? I did all sorts of crazy shit for them. That was the least crazy. And you take that money, you make it. Now it costs $400,000, right? But I own Jeebus for life. So say Amazon goes, hey, we want to license it for 2 years for $1 million. Boom. Then 2-year period exclusivity's up. Now Netflix is like, we want it because it got traction. We'll give you $2 million for the next 3 years. And then you can syndicate it to Apple, Amazon, airlines, foreign distribution, and you're basically just renting your movie house. It's like a house that you're renting. So if you make it with your co-op and you split that with your people and you keep on going, just build the catalog. I mean, now let's look at the end of hopefully my journey in 20 years, right? Similar to Mike Judge, South Park. Fucking incredible. They just licensed their entire season catalog, 2 deals. One to Paramount for 6 years, one to HBO Max for 6 years. Guess how much the 6-year licenses are? Take a guess.
600 million.
960 million each. And then in 6 years, they get to do it again. So if you make something real freaking good and they want it and you license it and don't sell it, you got, that's how.
I would say yes. Next question, just so we have about 2 questions left.
Okay, so follow up on that. Once you make it, then how do you sell it?
You pack up your shit, move to Hollywood, somehow go to things like this, tell everybody you know, make cards, tell everybody you meet, expect 7,000 rejections, in your head assume that they're wrong, and just go until you step in shit. You know, I've got a couple things going, fingers crossed, and it's part manifestation, part the product being good, part being brazen. And it's an interesting time in the industry, so I can't fully speak to that because I don't know yet. You know, I haven't got there yet. I just know I will. So, I wouldn't trust Hollywood to be altruistic.
Rebecca,
I think you got to smack them in the face to go and do something.
how do you sell your stuff, Rebecca? She probably has a different.
I do have a totally different. So I think to this idea of YouTube creating personally, there are so many people looking for different types of IP to expand it out into a different format. So short serial dramas, audio dramas, things that you can control that you're not going to have to sell your 3 houses for, which I'm too old for. I love that you're youth. I'm not into that, and I don't think you have to do that either. The tools are out there now in a way that I can't even believe. You know, you can roll. I have used my cell phone for things we have shot because it shoots 4K, or you have DaVinci Resolve. Download it for free. Now you can edit it and color it and mix it. Those are the tools that we are using professionally. So it does come down to talent, for sure. But I would also say if you're honing your voice, to spend $400,000, $1 million, $2 million on your own money, honing your voice, not sure that's the best investment.
Yeah, and that's the smart answer. And the best way to sell something is have TikTok numbers. I mean, ironically, they do that.
So start creating, but do it, a comedic voice takes a long time. The iPhone is really good. It's a really good quality. You don't need much. And to the point of when to bet the money, before I made Jeebus, I wrote 20 music albums, put them out. I made 30 music videos, probably 200 video sketches, 200 podcasts. I wrote 10 movies. I filmed an entire reality show, season 1, and edited it around my life. I've got 105 terabytes on Dropbox. And then I knew it was time to push all in. And it wasn't until I was fully formed. So Jeebus was my magnum opus, bet the farm after nearly dying. And after you've nearly died, betting the house ain't shit. So it was kind of a perfect storm of things. So yeah, wait to do that until it's, you don't want to get your practice cuts out for sure. That's a great call.
Preparation meets opportunity, and having a good handle of how willing are you to take risks. Clearly, our panelists have different willingness to take risks at different stages in their career and in that specific format. How many different stakeholders do you have to answer to? Do you have children that you need to look out for, or can you go and do a big swing?
I got a vasectomy, so
there you go. All right, guys, that was all. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you so much.
I don't know shit. Right now 76, thinking. I don't know shit.